I've been grinding and nobody cares about who I am. And in February 2008, I was announced as the winner for Best Rap CEO. And literally my life changed that day. I remember I was walking into the crowd with my manager, and as we were walking in, Omotola came in with her security. And the people that were the red carpet didn't even know that I was nominated. So they were just like, come on, get out of here. Come on, get out of here. So we'll go and stand on that corner. So Omotola, let me tell you what you did, Dazi. Take your pictures in one place. It's dark. We'll now come to the side. The bouncers come say, we told you to get out of here. So they kept chasing us from place to place. And I was just looking at Stardo. But 2 hours later, I had an award in my hand, a gold plaque from Ayonima Shao. And that plaque, everybody was like, Emma is in the game. And after that, it was safe. Talk about it. Credible music. Let's go.
For every time money shot, they blamed it on you. For everything I am today, I owe it all to you. From the heart, hip-hop, I say thank you. From the heart. From the heart, hip-hop, I say thank you. From the heart. From the heart, hip-hop, I say thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jude Abaga. I am known as M.I. Abaga from Nigeria. I'm a rapper, and I come from Jos and Taraba State. And I mentioned both of them because I was born and brought up in Jos, but my family and my people are from Taraba State. They're from the part of Taraba called Tako. I'm from Kari, but I was born and brought up in J-Town. And my childhood is full of Jos. I remember childhood was so magical. My family, my dad was a pastor. He's still an evangelist, but pastor is a specific office. So he's a pastor. And my mom, when I was really young, she was going to school and she was at home and she was an entrepreneur. Nigerian women are amazing. So, and Jos was just magical as a young child. I could dream, I could play, I could go out, I could be adventurous and fill my mind with great visions of what a great future I could have. I'm very grateful to my parents for that. When I was 3 years old, I discovered I was going to have a companion by the name of Jesse, who went on to become the greatest, Jesse Jags. And he was also just a brilliant younger brother that made my life so much fun. Don't believe him when he tells you I was mean to him, you guys, but the great Jesse Jags and I, we grew up in Jos, and my dad and mom really loved music, and I think that's what informed it. And also, there's a legendary artist from Nigeria called Panan Percy Paul. He's a gospel artist, but he's a legend, a true legend. And when I was a child, I got to see him emerge. And I think that really filled my heart with the desire to just participate in this amazing thing called music. I didn't really see myself as a rapper when I was really young. I was keyboardist, I used to play the bass, play drums, I used to play instrument, I would try to sing, and God did not give me the gift of a very great singing voice. Even as I grew, I think I started going into rap a little bit because it's what I could do, but my heart has always been for music. And my whole life, I tell people I've been a dancer, I've been a DJ, I've been a manager, I've been a rapper, I've been a singer, I've sang in a gospel choir, I've been an engineer, I've been a producer. I've lived and works as someone that's partaking this beautiful gift that God has given to us called music. And I'm very grateful that, life led me to rap. My early influences for rap and hip hop, I'll give a little bit of a prelude to that. And my prelude is, I really, really love music. And when I started understanding music and the theory of music and how it worked and how one chord connected to another. It's not like I was technically trained or anything, but my heart and my mind could connect the dots and see what was happening, hear the harmonies. I could, it would really fill me with so much joy. I really wanted to do that at a high level, but I just wasn't as gifted as a keyboardist, as a drummer, and even though I was really good and I was partaking, I wasn't standout. When I was in secondary school, I had a friend called Emmanuel Bio. I have a friend called Emmanuel Bio. Crew. And one day we were walking and he started rapping a rap song. My first year, Let It Rain. Honey, Pop the Umbrella by Heavy D. And I'd listen to like MC Hammer coming up, you know, like that kind of music, but it never really hit me. Something about hanging out with my guy as a young man, he was rapping these lyrics. I was like, this is cool. I want to do this. And from then I fell in love with hip hop music. I would say that the great influences of my life musically have been DMS, Lauryn Hill, Jay-Z, Black Star, Tanquilli, and Mos Def. And then there's so many other influences. I think the greatest musical influence on me has been Sarah McLachlan. She's not a rapper. She makes alternative music. Canada. She's really amazing. Bob Marley, Lucky Dube, you know, wherever I can swim in great music, I want to swim. And then I can create rap music for that. So I went to VYBZ High School in Jos, and VYBZ High School was a great place for me to grow my music career. And I had a lot of great experiences. But when I finished university, I was so sure I wanted to go to the US. And with my parents and bugging people and raising money somehow, you know, I got a scholarship and I went to this amazing college called Calvin. And while I was there I really, really deeply fell in love with music. I was not doing so great in school for multiple reasons. I was a young kid that just moved to America. I think I first dealt with the depression then, but we didn't have a word for it back then, you Gen Z kids. And and as I was trying to balance, I would just go into like these studio rooms and I would just write songs from morning to night. I would just write these beautiful melodies. Some of the songs are songs that you've heard. My first album is a song called Jehovah. I fill my life's pages with the goodness of the rock of ages. The drama in my life, these stages, the fire blazes. Going through life, I've seen what man would do. I wrote this when I was 16 years old and it made it to my first album. And so it was this time of just experiencing life and being a young man and discovering myself that led me to write all these songs and really improve on my music. And while I was in college, I started making rap CDs. I would enter into rap competitions and I would win every once in a while. I had this gospel choir that I was part of called African Acapella, and I was the coordinator. I would create all the sheet music for everyone. I would distribute all the parts. I would train the whole team. You know, I really loved music and I gave myself to it. And because I was not in the music program, I was studying something else. I sort of found myself back in Nigeria before I finished university through a sequence of things now. And it was time for me to figure out like, okay, I'm back in Nigeria. I don't have a degree. What do I do next? The thing I learned in the US was how to work. So I got a job, started working at an internet cafe in Jos. And that was a great experience. I met a lot of people. I sort of reintegrated myself back into Jos. And at the time, my younger brother, Jesse, remember I told you about him? My younger brother, Jesse, had kept on doing music and dancing and started telling me like, there's this other guy that we went to school with whose name was Emmanuel Mosu. You guys may know him as E. Kelly. So E. Kelly was a year my senior in VYBZ High School, and he was like, E. Kelly works at a studio that was right behind my studio called Skynet. I go to Skynet. Guess who's recording at Skynet? P Square were recording their Get Squared album at Skynet that time with a producer called White Coleman and E. Kelly. They were both working on the album and another guy called Mecca E. And it's in this world that I was like, we're going to launch a label and we're going to call it Loopy Records. And my brother is going to be the artist. I was going to be the manager. I was going to get other people. We're going to organize it. And the first recording session that we did, nobody showed up. Jesse was late. Everybody was late. And so I was in the studio there just, you know, I had the time to myself and the producer there. So I recorded a song called Still Holding On. And Still Holding On came out of that studio and did really well in Jos. And it made its way to a guy called Aldo Megori. And I need to take you guys back. I need to take you back. So let me take you back. 9 days after I was born, my dad's best man gave birth to a child called Jeremiah Ken. And so Jeremiah and the gang and I grew up together as friends that both loved music when we were younger. And we were both doing different things. Jeremiah was a deep instrumentalist and a great vocalist, and I started tilting into rap. So when I got back from college, and I was working at the internet cafe. Jeremiah Gang had just put out an album called Nabaka, and he needed a manager. So remember I told you I've been a manager, so I became Jeremiah's first manager at the time. And we started going around Jos, we started building activations, and I was trying to get him out there. And through that process, I connected with Audu, who signed Jeremiah. And that song, Still Holding On, made its way into Audu City one day. And he listened to it and said, who made this song? Jeremiah was like, M.I., that guy Jude, and you know, the rest was history. I got a record deal. Actually, let me stop here. Let's start from these triangulated points. Jeremiah Gang, Audu Mekori, and M.I. Abaga. And the year is 2006. Jeremiah's album is doing really well. M.I. is about to put out a song called Crowd Mentality. And we're in Abuja, we're thinking about our plans. And I told Audu, I said, I really believe that this label can become something else. And I wrote a proposal to Audu. I was like, this is what the label can do. I can run this management. We can do this division, blah, blah, blah. And Audu was like, okay, very interested. So through that process, Audu and I started getting closer as Jeremiah and Audu's relationship was breaking apart. And I just was like, this is the vehicle for me. It's Chocolate City. And I'm going to use this vehicle to get to the top. So I went back home. So back home, I had my brother, Jesse Jags. I had that movement called Loopy. Many famous artists are part of this group. Of course, E. Kelly was part of it. There's a singer called Lindsay Abude. If you don't know who she is, everybody go check her out. She's fantastic, world class. She was part of our Loopy crew. Ruby Gang was part of our Loopy crew. And a few other artists. Some of them are not making music anymore, but a few other artists in that ecosystem. And I was sort of like the manager. So when Audu would come back to Jos, or you'd come to Jos to see us, I had the studio, I had the team, I had the production, I had everything. And through that, I started connecting with like Mode 9. I started connecting with artists in Lagos. And one day, I met with Genie. Genie was in Enugu for a show by an Ill Bliss. I know you know this one. It's called Rainbow Nets. Rainbow Nets. So Rainbow Nets were doing a show, and the ambassador at the time was a singer called YG. And she was upcoming, but the headline show was like Genie, Jeremiah, and YG. And I went as Jeremiah's like PA, basically. But Jeremiah knew I could rap, so he always gave me an opportunity to get on stage. And that day I got on stage and I rapped, and the crowd loved it. And Genie was working at Sound City at the time. So Genie said, I would love you to come. I want to do a new segment. I would love you to come to Sound City. So I went back to Jos. I had an opportunity. I was like, okay, I raised some money. I hopped on a plane. I took a bus. What am I saying? Hey, no, please, not yet, please. Not yet, please. I took a bus, came to Lagos, and man, I had my bus era. If you go listen to the Chairman album, you hear Davide. That's the start of the story. He's traveling from Lagos to Jos and listening to those Akachawa mixtapes. That's what that song is a metaphor for, you know? So I would travel on these bus trips from Jos to Lagos. I'd travel. And then I came to Lagos, and Genie was so kind. Genie at the time had a room, and he was sharing with some other producers. And we were like, he housed like 8 of us. And for you young kids that are not entering Lagos now, you don't know what it was like. We'll be 8 of us sitting on the floor in the living room, and we were grateful for it, you know, because that's the only space we had. Genie would, sometimes I would go sleep in his room, you know, and in that guy, man, really look out for us, but he still has to have his babe, you know. He has worked and gotten his house, you know what I mean? But he was so kind, and he housed us. God bless you, Genie, wherever you are. God bless you, wherever you are, Genie. God bless. He housed us. So I started bringing my crew. Abuchi, who's now the CEO of Chocolate City, was our sound engineer at the time. He had met when he was 14 years old, and he was just an intern at the studio. Fiercely passionate, so hardworking, so dedicated. IcePrince Zamani and Jesse Jags. This was my crew. I moved into a space in Lagos. We had Ruby back home, Eve, Ura, and Lindsay. This was our team, Loopy Records. Chocolate City is going to be our platform. We're going to take over the world. And I started grinding, man. Every time I come to Lagos, I would just try. the first few times I'll come to Lagos, they just arrest me. Because once police see JJC, they'll just tell you, come and enter this bus. You know, you gotta sit down. So it happened to me all the time. And then I started getting a hang of things. I started getting my little, in J-Town, it's a little bit more peaceful than Lagos. So I started getting a little bit of a hang of it. So the song Crab Mentality somehow got nominated for a rap award. And I got nominated in 2008 for Headies Rap Single of the Year. Up until this point, I've been grinding and nobody cares about who I am. And in February 2008, I was announced as the winner for Best Rap Single. And literally my life changed that day. I remember I was walking into the crowd with my manager, and as we were walking in, Omotola came in with our security. And the people that were on the red carpet didn't even know that I was nominated. So they were just like, come on, get out of here. Come on, get out of here. So we'll go and stand on that corner. So Omotola, let me tell you what you did, Dazi. Take your pictures in one place. It's dark. We'll now come to the side. The bouncers come say, we told you to get out of here. So they kept chasing us from place to place. And I was just looking at Stardo. But 2 hours later, I had an award in my hand, a gold plaque from Ayonema Shao. And that plaque, everybody was like, Emma is in the game. And after that, it was safe. Talk about it. Credible music. Let's go. And yeah, we were ready. Jesse was ready. IcePrince was ready. Audu was ready. Abuchi was ready. And the rest, as they say, is history. My album did really well. When Jesse dropped after that, he did really well. And IcePrince dropped after that, he did really well. I started looking for how we could expand. Remember, I always had this mindset of expansion. So I was like, we need a singer to fill out the group. I actually tried to get Young Six on board. If the deal didn't work out, he ended up going to Storm Records. I tried to get Shady on board, and it didn't work out. He ended up going to EME. In the middle of this too as well, I met Wizkid. He was really young. I put him on my first album. And, all this was happening at the time. And then one day I heard a voice, and I was like, who is this kid? And it took me like a year to find him. His name was Brymo. He joined our label, and we became the Chop Boys. And that became the foundation for Chocolate City. I started talking to Audu about how could we expand? What could we do next? And so in 2012, they voted and they made me the first VP of music. And my goal was basically what comes next? How do we build the systems? So over the next 3 years, I met Dice Ales, I met Coker. I started building infrastructure around small studios. And in 2015, Audu stepped down from the music business. But because I already had my team, Loopy and everyone, I merged both businesses and I became an owner of Chocolate City, one of the owners. And I was the CEO from 2015 to 2019. In that time, we signed CK, who now has Afrobeats' biggest song. He signed Dice Ales, we signed Coker, we signed Victoria Kimani, we signed Black Bones. And one of my real claim to fame is that we developed so many executives that are now in Maven, executives that are leading Chocolate City, executives that are in Warner, executives that are all over the music ecosystem came from Chocolate City, Google, in big companies. Through that period of us leading, I'm working really hard. And those artists that we invested in at that time became part of the generation of Afrobeats that changed the world. CK's Love Wanted to went on to do amazing. And in 2019, Warner and Chocolate City decided to do a deal. The way I'll describe it is I was unprepared for what happens when acquisitions occur. And through a series of decisions, I found myself no longer in leadership of Chocolate City. And I had to, begin a new journey again. That journey today is Task. And Task is what artists need. My new project, my mission, what I'm working on now is a project called Task. And Task is created for creatives. In the ecosystem, the music ecosystem, most of the companies that transact on behalf of creatives, that monetize, are not for the creative. They are for the industry, they are for the investors, they are for the customer. Streaming makes it easier for artists to get music cheaper. across the board. Content cheaper, YouTube, Netflix, but it's not necessarily for the creator. And so we're building something that helps the creator secure their wealth, secure their assets, secure their IP, find opportunities, manage those opportunities, and scale. Because creatives will change Africa. The same way my story started as a young man in Jos, who didn't even have an opportunity, never thought that I would be working on projects, I'd be part of selling companies, I'd be one of, in the lexicon of great rappers historically in Africa. But the talent that God had given me made a way for me. I see that being the gateway for African creators to change Africa and to change the world. And that's our mission and task. I have a project coming out this year, but it's more than a project. It's actually part of what I want to give, in the sunset of my career. This is part of like the legacy part I want to leave. So let's announce it here first. We're creating a genre of music. Every Nigerian artist has their own genre. So my own genre is called African Superhero Theme Music. African Superhero Theme Music. Don't shorten it. Don't say serious fight. Say the whole thing. African Superhero Theme Music. African Superhero. And this genre has 3 rules. Every genre has a sound, has a rule, but this genre has 3 rules. The rules are: you must inspire people with the art you make. You must create it in a world that is Africa in antiquity, so ancient Africa, and it must be cinematic. The first project in this genre is called The Wolf. And The Wolf is an African fable for people that are walking through the storm, are going through a journey alone, or are being misunderstood, or are going through a period of solitude. Whoever you are, there's a story that we have forgotten from a long time about the wolf. See, the wolf was born in Africa, and over time, through a series of things, his memory was erased from Africa. And now he's hunted and hated, lives mainly in America in the wilderness, And everything we know about wolves is actually the opposite of who wolves really are. Wolves are an amazing animal. They're very loyal. They're very hardworking. They're pack driven. And they gave human beings dogs. Wolves are the ancestors of dogs, and they should be much more revered. But everywhere you look, wolves are the bad guys in stories. How did that happen? That's the album that's coming very soon. And the album is my story. It's your story. It's everyone's story. There are times in life when you are misunderstood, when the odds are against you, when human beings don't believe in you, when your purpose may not even be clear, where your resources are low, when the storm, the noise, the winds are so loud and you feel you will be crushed and you'll be blown away. And the wolf, which means to humans everywhere, whatever occurs, look forward, is an album for 2025 for the world to remind us that we are stronger than we think we know we are, and that we are able to rise above it all and to continue to move forward. So look out, watch out for The Wolf. And African Superhero Theme Music, by the way, is open to all artists. It's a genre where when I put out The Wolf, people can collaborate with it. And we're going to share more about it, but it's like, in tech, they have this thing called open source. African Superhero Theme Music is the first open source genre. Everybody's free to collaborate with it as long as you follow those 3 rules. Yeah, I can't wait to share with you guys, and you guys will have it soon. This leads me to talk about something I think is really important for young rappers and artists that are out there. There's a phrase that I heard when I was a young man that I carry with me always. It goes thus: the goal of the artist is to create the definitive work that cannot be surpassed. I'll say it again. The goal of the artist is to create the definitive work that cannot be surpassed. That means when you put your hands to your craft, young girl, young boy, whoever you are, wherever you are hearing this, your goal is to create the definitive work that cannot be surpassed. When people tell you Why are you working so hard on it? Why are you still chipping away at it? You say the goal of the artist is to create the definitive work that cannot be surpassed. And what that means in normal Nigerian English is that when you do it, it should be done for all history. So that is my charge to all of us, to the rappers, to the painters, to the writers, to the sculptors, to the thinkers, to the actors. The goal of the artist, your mission with your remaining time on earth, is to create the definitive work that cannot be surpassed. And you know what it is, so start creating. My name is Abaga, and Hiphop I Say thank you.
From the heart, hip-hop I say thank you. From the heart, hip-hop I say thank you.